I've helped 200 sports coaches expand their training businesses by leveraging social media and online training. And one of the best things that you can possibly do if you want to expand your training business online is by leveraging a hybrid training program. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how you can use your hybrid training program to not only retain your athletes in season and provide them way more value, but to use it to promote your program online so that way you can go reach people outside of your local area. How to use hybrid training to promote online training. So first things first, if you're watching this, you should probably know what hybrid training is, but just in case you don't, hybrid training is when you train your athletes in person and online. So typically you'll see your athletes once per week in person, and then you'll create like a set of drills, exercises, routines, and more throughout the week so that your athletes can get more value out of the coaching relationship with you. And the reality is that you likely have tons of information that you'd love to give your athletes, but once per week really isn't enough. And so a typical schedule for a hybrid training program would be something like this. Monday, let's say you do an in-person training session focused on like a specific skill or a workout or something like that, right? Just typical like in-person training. If you're watching this, there's a 100% chance you know exactly what I'm talking about. And then for the hybrid section, right, the reason why it's hybrid is because it's in-person and online, okay? And so Tuesday through Sunday, you'll create a detailed plan for your athletes to follow, basically creating training sessions for them to complete. And, you can give them feedback, especially if you have like a good training app. Like obviously we have a partnership with Connect, and Connect will allow you to message them back and forth and hold them accountable, make sure they're completing their workouts, things like that. And then something you can do is like a video analysis one time a week. This is, what a lot of our best clients do is they'll do a video analysis one time a week where, your athlete sends you videos of them completing their drills, exercises, all that different stuff through like the online training app or even some other communication platform. It can be through Slack or, God forbid you're doing it through iMessage, but, maybe you are. And then you use the online training app's video analysis tool or some other tool like Zoom or Loom, like this app that I'm using right now, or something else to do a breakdown of their mechanics and give them feedback on the things that you worked on with them on Monday. So that way you're tightening up the feedback loop and you're giving them feedback on the things that you just worked on with them on Monday instead of waiting a full 7 days to see if they actually did anything, right? So an example of this could be like your athlete sends you video every Friday and you send them the video analysis back ideally on the same day or at the bare minimum within 24 hours, right? Because obviously the tighter the feedback loop that you have, the quicker your athletes are going to be able to make adjustments and make changes in the day-to-day, right? That's one of the benefits, obviously, of having your athletes in person. The downside is that you can't work with every single athlete every single day, right? So this is the best way to do it in terms of giving them live feedback, right? So why it's important, number one, you're providing so much more value to your athletes, okay? So your athletes need more structure, guidance than just one training session per week. Like imagine if you had access to your current self at the age of 16 every single day. How much differently would your career have gone? I guarantee you that every single one of you guys watching this would say that my career would have been better. I know it would have been better for me. I absolutely needed myself right now to coach me when I was 16, 17, right? It also leads to smoother retention for in season. So a problem that we see often is like your roster is going to take a hit when your athletes go in season, right? Because they're traveling, they're playing, they're practicing with their team. And it becomes incredibly difficult to see your athletes on a regular basis. And so what you could do with the hybrid program is introduce them to the idea of online training and get them comfortable with the idea or the training style. So that way you can get them on a package during the season to see you less frequently just for tune-ups like every other week, let's say, without having to lose out on training them, helping them continue to progress, as well as the revenue that you're actually losing out on by your athletes coming less frequently, right? Because if your athletes aren't coming in, you're only doing in person, well, you can't get paid, right? You can't put food on the table. You can't pay your bills. So the third thing that that's going to do is it's going to create separation between the value you're providing and the time that you're spending. Okay, so most coaches are only providing value to their athletes whenever they're giving their direct time, right? And this is a problem because your income gets tied directly to the time you're putting in, limiting you to the amount of athletes you can serve, as well as the money that you can actually make. So your impact and your income are effectively capped. Okay, you can only work with a certain amount of athletes and you can only provide them so much value and you can only make so much money, okay? And that's not what we want. We want to be able to maximize all three. You can have all three if you do this stuff, okay? And so when both you and your athletes learn that you can help them even when you aren't there in person, your training business becomes much less reliant on your time and much more reliant on the information, support, and overall guidance that you can provide as a coach overall, rather than just, hey, like if you're a baseball coach flipping some balls to somebody and hoping that they hit them, or if you're like, you know, a soccer coach and you're sitting there making them run through cones and different things like that, that is obviously valuable and you can provide that direct feedback. However, there is probably so much information that is in your brain, that is trapped in your brain, that you're not passing along. And it's low-key selfish if you're not actually passing it along, right? That's why I make these videos. That's why I do what I do, because I have so much information in my brain that I'm passing it along to other people, okay? And then how to retain your athletes in season with hybrid training. So the process kind of looks like this. So you start with hybrid training in the off season to get your athletes acclimated to the systems and different things like that. And you can kind of iron out the kinks if you've never done it before. And then you pre-frame the in-season hybrid training plan during the off-season, so they're already thinking about it, right? They're already thinking, oh, in-season, I'm going to be on a hybrid program where I come in less frequently, but I still get to work with this coach who I really like so much, okay? And then you're going to pitch the in-season hybrid training program based on their current situation and what they can commit to. If they can still come in once a week, amazing. Keep everything the same. If they can only come in every other week or once a month, or once every other month, or whatever the situation is, you're going to want to come up with a plan specifically for them, right? Because at the end of the day, every athlete's a little bit different. They all need a little bit different help. So starting hybrid training in the off season. If your sport is not in season, you should start the hybrid training program ASAP, okay? We obviously have plenty of other trainings that teach you how to do that, actually how to create the hybrid program. However, it is vital that as soon as you possibly can, you get as many of your athletes as possible onto your hybrid training program, okay? Obviously, it's going to provide them way more value. It's going to, give you a higher probability of bulletproofing your business. You'll make more money. You'll make a bigger impact, different things like that, okay? So it's absolutely vital that you implement that as soon as possible. It's the foundation of every online training program, at least for the most part, if you have in-person athletes. And then you're going to pre-frame the in-season hybrid training during the off-season, okay? So when you first sign an athlete up into your off-season hybrid training program, you should mention that this is going to be tremendously beneficial for them in season as well, right? They shouldn't be expecting to only train with you for the next 3 months. Like let's say, it's December right now and you're a baseball coach, December, January, February, and then their season starts in March. You probably had athletes who come to you for a bit, get way better, than whenever they leave for their season, you stop working with them. And so when they come back to you, either because they're struggling in the middle of the season or at the end of the season, it seems as if they took 10 steps backwards, okay? And so you want to make sure that your athletes are aware of that happening, or at least the possibility, right? Not everyone does that. Some athletes can continue to progress and they're really motivated, which an online program will give them even more support. Those are the people who are going to get even better results because they're self-motivated, okay? And so if you've worked with an athlete in the past and that exact same situation happened, then you remind them of what happened last time and how this new solution is going to prevent that from happening again in the future. And if you've never worked with an athlete, and I don't mean like never worked with an athlete ever, but like if it's a brand new athlete to you and you're just signing them up, tell them a story about how one of your athletes in the past, or if you've never had this happen, at least explain the possibility to them, how they lost all the progress you guys made together during the season because they stopped training and stopped coming to you, okay? That's why it's absolutely vital that you guys train year round to make sure that you're constantly progressing. You have a moral obligation to sell these people your hybrid program because in a very real way, it is providing a ton of value if you do it right, okay? So pitching the in-season hybrid training program, you can have the best training program of all time, but if you suck at sales, you will never sell it, okay? Sales are a vital aspect to business, making money in life, and getting what you want. So if you're afraid of sales or you don't like the term, you're probably going to need to read a couple books about sales and reframe your mindset because it is actually your moral obligation to sell people into this program, okay? It is your moral obligation. If you really think you're that good of a coach and you really think that you can help athletes on that deep of a level and your program is actually that good, if you're not going to sell people on it and convince them to buy your program, then you probably don't actually believe in yourself or your program that much. Sorry to say. So You should have already pre-framed the in-season hybrid training program in the off-season. So when you get to the season, the conversation is much easier. It's just an extension of the points that you already made when they first started their off-season hybrid training program. Okay, that if they do not continue to train and stick with what you've been working on together, they will regress, right? They will go backwards from where they're currently at right now. So you can then make the offer to do a hybrid training program based on what they can commit to. Here's a quick example, okay? Let's say your athlete says they can only come in every other week during the season. So make them an offer to train every other week in person and then hybrid the rest of the time. So if you're charging, let's say, $500 a month for your off-season hybrid training program, assuming you're seeing them 4 times a week, you can knock down the price to $300 a month or something like that. It's totally your choice. I'm just giving you options right now. Okay, so that way you can continue to provide them value, but it likely doesn't make any sense to keep your price the same if you're seeing them in person, right? So, or in person less, okay? So people like itemized pricing. Itemized pricing is a way to break down the total cost of something into individual components so that the price of each item or service is clear. Okay, I got that directly from Google, so I'm citing my sources right now. But for example, each in-person training session is $100 an hour, and the online add-on is $100 a month. So taking the total price to $500 a month for off-season hybrid training, assuming you're working with them once per week, you can then pitch the in-season hybrid training program at $300 a month because it's $100 an hour per session plus the add-on for $100 a month, right? Obviously, you can charge way more money than that for online training, but if you're already seeing these people in person, you don't want to try and, typically try and price gouge them, right? Especially if you're just increasing the capacity of people you can work with by adding a hybrid program, okay? You don't need to charge them as much as before, okay? So using hybrid training to promote online training. The biggest problem people face with online training, like specifically coaches and parents alike, is that people aren't fully convinced that it will actually work and actually provide value to the athlete. So how you can overcome that is that you can never have enough proof to show that you are good at what you do. And because of that, you can use case studies and testimonials of athletes that you've worked with in a hybrid setting to then promote that online about how you can actually help people through an online platform, okay? Get case studies and testimonials from the hybrid athletes that you've worked with, where in those case studies and testimonials or interviews that you're doing with them, you're talking specifically about how the online portion of the training was incredibly beneficial. Okay, the main objection people will have is that they're still seeing you in person, like these hybrid athletes that are getting results are still seeing you in person. So you want to overcome that by having athletes and their families talk about how easy the online training program is to follow, how beneficial it was to their development, and how it's completely changed how they view their training. Okay, so some key factors to hit on are how it sped up their development, how awesome it is to communicate with you on a more frequent basis, and how just having a structured plan to follow every single day gives them the confidence they need to go out and compete at the highest level. Okay, so how to promote online training. So we have tons of trainings on how to make marketing content, so we'll keep this at a pretty high level. But the most important thing you can do is to use proof in as many different ways as you possibly can. So for example, when you do an interview with one of your clients, right, which you absolutely should be doing, posting it on YouTube as a long form video. The longer, the better, because people are going to sit there and binge watch it. And the more time they can spend with you, the more trust you're going to build, because that's a big barrier you have to overcome on the internet, is that people don't necessarily trust you. They're mad skeptical of online stuff. Okay. So once you make that YouTube video, you upload it to YouTube, you can then chop it up into a reel or a bunch of different reels, highlighting the best parts of the interview. Then you can create a carousel post with 30 to 60 second videos on each slide to show the best parts of the interview, right? So like, let's say you post 10 reels, you can just turn that horizontally into a carousel post, right? And then you can take a snippet of the full interview and post it on your Instagram story, pushing people to your YouTube channel by linking the YouTube link right there. And then you can also take a screenshot of something they said, like if they typed it to you, and you can put that on your story too. So as you can see, you can use one case study and distribute it across multiple different mediums of content, because people like to consume content differently. And most of the people who follow you don't even see your stuff anyway, right? Go look at your insights on Instagram. As simple as this sounds, the more opportunities that you give somebody to consume your content, the the more likely they are to actually consume it. So that's exactly how you can use hybrid training to promote online training. Appreciate you guys watching. If you're a sports coach and you want to learn how you can expand your training business by leveraging social media and online training, then I invite you to click the link in the description, watch a quick video there, and apply to work with us. And if you're qualified, go ahead and schedule a call to speak with me or my team.